Well, good morning, church. I begin with a little bit of gratitude. Last week, I preached a sermon about being involved in serving, and then we had a big volunteer expo last week, and you responded really, really well to that. So I just wanted to say thank you from one of the people that work here on staff. It's a big help to know there's so many people that want to volunteer and serve and use their time. We had hundreds and hundreds of people sign up for various roles, and so thank you so much for doing that last week. I want to begin today by showing you a clip of my favorite moment of all the Olympic Games. This was the 800 freestyle final. A few characters to remind you of, it's been a while since you've seen this race. So the person on the screen circled in yellow is the swimmer from Italy. Paltrinieri is his name, and he's the heavy favorite. He won the race in the 2019 World Championships, gold medalist in the 1500 from Rio, best distance swimmer on the male side of things in the last 5 years. And this is about 2 minutes into the race, and he has a 3-length body lead over the rest of the field. I remember sitting on my couch with Mary and thinking, he's not coming on. And then boom, last 10 meters, makes a big push, touches the ball first. And I love that for many reasons. One, when it comes to faith and spirituality, and you're probably the same as me, I would much rather finish like Fink than start like, what's his name, Paltrinieri? The guy from Italy, I just forgot his name. I'd much rather finish like Fink. Someone who actually gets better the longer the race goes. And you know people like that as the days go by and the months go by and the years go by and the decades go by, they seem to actually get stronger in their faith and deeper in their faith, and they know more about God, and they're wiser, and they're more compassionate, and they seem to be very self-aware. And so like bad habits and faulty ways of thinking, even as they age, they're like, I think I can make an adjustment here. And over time, they get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I want to be one of those people. But then on the flip side, you and I both know a lot of people that start strong and then fade. It's the people that at the beginning, they're fired up, they're sharing their faith, they're generous, they're like, yes, they're into the whole Jesus thing, and then they just fade. Month goes by, 2 months goes by, and they can't sustain the passion, they can't sustain the energy, and so they just end up back where they were before they met Jesus. Jesus actually describes this group of people in Matthew chapter 13, and it's this parable of the seeds. And if you remember this, Jesus says they have no root, they last a short time, and when trouble comes, they fade away. So how do you become somebody who finishes like Fink instead of somebody who fades away? Because here's the thing, nobody starts their faith journey thinking that they're going to be strong for a few months or a few years and then fade away. Like, nobody plans to fall off. And yet it happens. Like, it happens all the time. Like, the fade is very prevalent in the world. And so, is there anything that we can do? Anything we can do as Christians? This is week 3 of this new series that I've started called All In, and we're asking this big question: what would it look like to go all in terms of your faith? And this week, I want to play the long game and ask the question: what would it look like to go all in for a long time? Like, I could give you a snapshot of a Christian who's on fire for Jesus in a moment. But what I'm interested in is in somebody that can do it for a really, really, really long time. How do you do that? Where do you even begin? So I'm going to start in left field, and this will make sense in just a minute. But I want to ask you an odd question. When was Peter, the Apostle Peter, converted? So the New Testament does not record the baptism of Peter. And so we're left to wonder, at what point does he go from being an unbeliever to being a believer? Like, when does this transition happen for him? And there's actually multiple possibilities. So is it the moment where Jesus comes to him and says, I want you to follow me? And Peter drops his nets and follows Jesus. Or is it the moment, Matthew chapter 16, where Jesus says, who do you people say that I am? And Peter stands up and says, well, you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. And then Jesus says, that's a pretty good answer because that was revealed to you not by human beings, but by God himself. Maybe it was the good confession where Peter came to faith. Or it could be right after the good confession, Jesus gives Peter a new name and he says, you're not going to be called Simon any longer. I'm going to call you Peter, and on this rock I'm going to build my church. Maybe that's it. Could be John 21. After Peter denies Jesus 3 times, Jesus forgives Peter, reinstates Peter, and then says, I want you to go feed my sheep. Could be Pentecost, Peter's greatest sermon, greatest moment of leadership. Lots of people get baptized. Or maybe Acts 10, later in Peter's life, where he still hasn't fully got it, that this group of people is just as deserving of the love of Christ as the Jews are, and so God has to take him to Cornelius. Maybe that's the moment where true conversion happened. Or maybe it's at the end of his life when church history tells us that Peter was martyred. Like, which one is it? And to be honest, I don't know. Like, you can make arguments for a lot of these events in Peter's life as to the moment he came to faith. But the point that I simply want to make is this: transformation can be a habit, not just a moment. Like, Peter is a shining example of this. If there is anybody that could have used his past to leverage his present, it would have been Peter. Like, for forever and ever, Peter could have just introduced himself as the one who walked on water, which I forgot to mention just a minute ago. Peter could have said, well, I walked on water, so you should listen to what I said. Like, he could have used that story to leverage the ministry in his present later in his life, but he never did that. Like, Peter was always looking for what's the next thing God wants me to know? What's the next thing that God wants me to do? What's the next character transformation that I need to make? I mean, think about this. The guy that chopped off Malchus's ear in the Garden of Gethsemane is the same guy who years later wrote the sentence, do not repay evil for evil, but rather with blessing. It's the same guy. And so somehow he has figured out how to make transformation not just something that happens once, but something that actually happens over and over and over and over and over again. So again, the question becomes what do you do? How do we, is there any way that we can replicate what Peter is doing? Because you know this, it is so easy to get stuck in a spiritual rut where you're just doing the same things over and over. You're saying the same prayers, and you don't really feel like they matter or mean anything. You're trying to read the Bible, but it's not really soaking in. You come to church because you feel like you're supposed to, but you just feel stuck, and you want to break out of the rut. Well, Peter figured out how to do that. How do we do that? What does it look like in my life? What does it look like in your life? Well, I want to give you something to think about here. And to do it, I need 2 volunteers to join me on stage to help with an illustration. And I'm just going to throw out, I would like 2 teenagers to do this. I have not selected anybody. 2 teenagers, raise your hand. I know it's a big room. Sure, right there. Come on up. That's great. I see a parent volunteering a child there. Right here. Come on up. Okay. And Scott, can you hand me that microphone? You guys can come up on this stage. We'll just do some introductions. Tell the church who you are.
I'm Caden Rieger.
Everybody say, hey, Caden.
I'm Gabriel Engelkey.
And everybody say, hey, Gabriel. Okay, so guys, here's what I need. I need one of you to stand here. I'll take the mic back. Gabe, you can stand here. You're over here. Okay, so just a few things I need you to try. First, do you think you can throw this ball, and do you think you can catch the ball? You can do this? Okay, go for it. Wow, that was so good. Oh, that's incredible. Okay, can you throw it back? Wait, oh, this is so good. It's a great Sunday. Okay, next thing I want to see if you can do is, do you think you can roll the ball across the table without it falling off? It's child's play. You guys are so good at this. And then you roll it back. Another round of applause. This is great. This is so good. Now, the next thing I want you to try is, I'm going to move the table a little bit. I'm going to go right angle here. Okay. And you come stand here. Now, you can't throw it. You have to roll it. And your job is to roll the ball and make it curve so that it actually comes right here. Okay. Well, that's called failure. Try again. Try again. See, just one more time. Nope, that is also failure. So what could help here? You guys have any ideas? You can make the table straight again. You could put a wall. We haven't talked about this, have we? Like you didn't know you were going to volunteer? I just so happened to have folding chairs back behind this curtain that we could form a wall with. That's a great idea. So what if we put this here, and like this here, and this here? I don't know. It could work. I mean, what else are you going to do with folding chairs when you're not having a parking lot service? Okay, and maybe we'll just try that. All right, let's see if you guys can pull it off. Maybe a little more power. Maybe a little more power. I believe in you. I believe in you. Okay, what about this? What if I move this to here? I assume if you hit that, it'll work. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. A lot of adjustments here. It worked. It worked. Now you knocked the chair off, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was just to get the ball here, and you succeeded. Way to go. Give these guys one more round of applause. Were you going to take the ball? You guys can sit down. Did you want the ball? Okay. Here's the point. So think about this. Let's debrief just a little bit. Now, when the tables are straight, all you got to do is roll the ball. You just put forth a little bit of effort, and it's just fine. But when the tables are not straight, effort is not enough. And so the main idea I'd want you to remember from this would be this. Short-term growth happens through effort, but long-term growth or long-term change happens through structure. So if you want to have short-term change, just try, and something will happen. But it probably won't last. But if you want it to last for a while, you got to have structure. Now, think about your life for just a minute. Is life, think back to when the tables were straight. Is that how life is? Is it just a nice straight line and everything is just like a highway? Of course not. There are so many turns in life, which is why you need spiritual structure. Long-term growth comes from structure. This is true with generosity. If you want to be a generous person, if you want to be generous today, just give a little bit more. You'll be generous. If you want to be a generous person for life, practice the tithe. The structure is going to produce the long-term growth. If you want to lose a few pounds today, skip lunch. If you want to lose a few pounds and keep it off, join Weight Watchers. Short-term growth happens through effort. Try really hard. Long-term growth happens through structure. You got to have structure. And so when you think about your faith, it's one thing to just say, I'm going to try really hard. I'm going to sing this next song really loud. I'm going to pray this next prayer really intensely. And sure, that might be great, but if you want to actually, decade after decade, finish think kind of a Christian, or if you want to be like Peter, who no matter how old he gets, he's still transforming closer and closer into the image of Jesus, then it's not enough just to try hard. You got to have structure. And so that begs the question, well, what kind of structure would you need? Where would you even start? Well, I want to read a famous verse from Acts. This is where all the structure of Christianity started. So before I read it, just think in your mind about everything that Christianity has done the last 2,000 years. Think about all the hospitals that have come from Christianity, the education systems. Think about the value of children that we have in the world because of Christianity. It's all of it. It's incredible what has happened because of followers of Jesus the last 2,000 years. Well, here's how it all started. This was the original structure. Acts 2:42. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. That was it. It started with those 4 building blocks. Now, the average person would think, well, how could those produce anything that great? We're talking about learning. We're talking about prayer, community, fellowship. Like what? Like communion. How can these things produce such a drastic result? Well, here's the key. If you practice these things for a day, it's not going to make that much of a difference. But if you practice them for a decade, something will happen in your life, because we have proof throughout history that something happened in a lot of people's lives because of these 4 building blocks. Now, the key word in this verse is the word devoted. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. So it doesn't say that they just did these things when they were bored, or they just did these things when it happened to coincide with their kids' sport schedules, or they just did these things because they felt guilty because their parents wanted them to do these things. It says they devoted themselves to it. Like they gave all of themselves to these 4 key building blocks. And then what happened because of this? Well, the gospel spread, the kingdom came, the hungry were fed, babies were saved, an empire fell, and the resurrection power of Jesus changed the world. And it was all because a few people decided that they were going to be fully all in with these 4 key building blocks. And again, it wasn't just that they tried this one day on Pentecost. Hey, let's go meet in each other's homes today, take some communion, have some fellowship, and pray together. No, this happened day after day after day after day. It became a formidable structure. Now, getting to your life and my life, like what does this look like really, if we got really practical here? I want to narrow the focus just for a minute, and I want you to think about the very first building block. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. What would that actually look like in your life? Like, how would you devote yourself to the teaching of Scripture? Like, what would that even look like? I want to give you 2 ideas. Number 1, it would look like this, or here's a step in that direction. Take inventory of all the voices in your life. Take inventory. You are already being shaped by voices every day. Who are they? Which ones have you given authority to? One scholar, Anthony Robinson, puts it this way: where no attention is given to teaching and to constant lifelong Christian learning, people quickly revert to the worldview of the mindset of the surrounding culture and end up with their minds shaped by whichever social pressures are most pervasive. So when you take biblical teaching out of a person's life, that person will get caught up in whatever the popular social culture, social norm of the day is. And it happens to us all the time. So here's a problem with Christians today. I'm not saying this is specifically about you or me. I'm just saying in general, here's a big problem that I see in our world. We have given more authority to Tucker Carlson, Anderson Cooper, and Stephen A. Smith than we have given to Jesus Christ. Consider for a moment how much time you spend giving to voices in your life that care more about your pocketbooks and your politics than your faith. If you show me a person that reads the Bible and goes to church 2 hours a week and then listens to all these other voices another 60 hours a week, 30 hours a week, you're not going to find a very faithful Christian. You'll find disciples of these other people. So take inventory of the voices that are already in your life. And secondly is this: amplify the biblical ones. And here's where the power of the church family comes in. The more that you commit to the life of this church, the more you're going to hear about the Bible. So one of my good friends and coworkers, Josh Kincaid, has been working all summer long on what kind of offerings we're going to give this fall as far as biblical teaching goes. And so not this coming Wednesday, but a week from Wednesday, we're starting a whole new slate of adult Bible classes on Wednesdays. And I want you to watch this video, which gives you a preview of what's coming up.
Hey church family, I'm thrilled to tell you about the return of our Wednesday night adult classes beginning September 8th. Remember that we've moved the times up to start most of our classes at 6:30. We're going to keep doing that at least through the end of this fall quarter, and I hope it works out for more of you to come. We have a great lineup of teachers that I want to show you in this video.
Hi, I'm Rob Harmon, and I'm going to be teaching a class called Journey with Jesus. We're going to be looking at 11 different episodes in the life of Jesus. We're going to understand, how did he encounter people? How did he deal with people? How did he handle a situation where he got mad? And so we're going to be looking at Jesus and understanding what we can learn as Christians today and what we can apply to our lives.
Well, the prophet Isaiah said that at certain times people are going to redefine things. What was good will become evil, and what was evil will become good. And it may be that that's going on right now with the word justice. Isaiah later quotes God by saying that, for I, the Lord, love justice. Well, if God loves justice, we should too. But what kind of justice? What does it mean? Well, we have a Wednesday night class that's going to talk about the justice the Lord loves.
I'm going to have a class on sharing God's story while being yourself. Too often in my life, I've gone to training or classes about sharing faith that made it seem like I had to change personality. I had to be the type of person that would walk in a room and meet everybody in it immediately and have everybody's attention, and that's just not me. I think God has uniquely gifted each of us, given us each our unique personality, and expects us to use what he's given us in a natural way to tell his story. So we're going to talk about different ways and different styles of evangelism that might be more fitting to who you are, that you can use on God's mission.
Well, the women at Memorial Road have a lot to be excited about this fall. This fall, our elders' wives are going to be giving us lessons using their experience and wisdom. The title of our series is A Word from the Wives. Elders' wives share life lessons. It's for everybody. It's for young and old, married, unmarried, members, visitors. Just come join us, and you're going to get some great lessons that will inspire, that will inform, and just lead you to a celebration of life with God.
Hey everybody, my name's Daniel. I'm the Young Adults Minister here at Memorial Road. We're really excited this fall that Phil Brookman is going to be with us, and we're gonna have a young adult class on spiritual disciplines. This may sound familiar because we started this a year and a half ago before the pandemic and got 2 weeks in. So we decided, hey, we're gonna cut our losses, start from scratch, and just begin again with him.
I think this is gonna be a great class because I've practiced spiritual disciplines for a long time, and it's hard to do as an individual, but it's a lot easier to do in the context of a community. So if you're a young adult, I really hope you'll check this class out.
Do you remember what Jesus said should be proclaimed every time the gospel story was told? It's the story of Mary anointing his feet at Bethany. And yet, how often do we remember that it's this woman's story that's at the very center of the gospel? Women have always been central to the mission of God, and yet, over the course of history, their stories have been forgotten, ignored, and sometimes even erased. I'm Alden Bass, and this fall I'm going to be teaching a class on the stories of these women, celebrating the lives and contribution of Christian women through the ages, beginning with New Testament times, working up through the Middle Ages and up into our own times.
Hey, my name's Todd. This last year has been kind of crazy for everybody with changes and difficulties and challenge, everything we've been dealing with. So what better name for a class than Dealing With? We're going to invite several professionals, expert speakers, members at Memorial Road. We're going to be visiting with counselors and ministers about things that we deal with. We'll look at about a dozen topics, use panels, and get an idea of ways that we can cope with the things we've dealt with over this last year using the Bible as a reference, and we'd like to invite everybody to come.
Hey, I'm Brian Simmons, inviting you to the Early Bird class at 5:15 each Wednesday. We're going to take a look at the parables of Jesus, but we're going to do so through a different lens. I'll be explaining the cultural and societal customs behind those parables to better understand them, to hear them as the ears of the first century people heard them. So I hope you'll join us Wednesdays at 5:15 beginning in September.
I hope you'll pick one of these classes and attend. If you want to read more about these classes, visit mrcc.org/Wednesday. We hope to see you here September 8th at 6:30.
So I'm bringing Josh up here because I want to ask him a few things. The first thing I'm curious about, Josh, is that's a lot of great content. I won't be able to be at all those places all at once. So how do I hear Harold Shank on justice and Alden Bass and Brian Simmons and Todd? How do I take it all in when I'm teaching my own class?
Yeah, by the way, thank you for teaching, Phil. I appreciate that. I know that's an extra thing to add to the load that you carry. So we've learned a lot this past year about learning live and learning distance and learning, in the room versus Zoom. And I've tried to take some of those lessons and take the best things that we've learned from how we've taught this past year. First of all, I'm so grateful for all of our class leaders and others who did their best to pivot to Zoom when we had to. It kept people connected in ways I could never have imagined, and so I'm so thankful for that. I think that people enjoyed connecting to classes on Zoom when it was part of their community, right? So it wasn't just connecting to hear a teacher, but it was also connecting to check in with my Sunday morning class community. But I think we also all know that learning on Zoom is not optimal. Teaching to Zoom is often teaching to a screen full of cameras turned off, so I'm not sure if people are asleep or not. I know how that goes. Learning is hard. So we've tried to say, hey, if it's not about connecting to a community, if it's just about connecting to content, let's develop some resources that people can engage on their own time. And so, Phil, to answer your question, we are launching an online learning portal called The Well, and you can visit mrcc.org/thewell. It is live today. And so we have repurposed a lot of our previous content. We've created new content especially for this site. It is not live. You're not with a group of students. You are able to connect to the content and learn at your own pace. So I am excited about that. This is just an image of what it looks like. You create an account so you can track your progress. We've got several courses online already, including, I'm very pleased to let you know, a course from a few years ago from our dearly departed friend, Dean Bryce. So I'm really thankful to his family for letting us do that. You can engage content at your own pace. You can even get a downloadable certificate when you're finished if you're motivated by that sort of thing. So I hope that you will take a moment sometime in the next few days, and we'll send out some emails to remind you to connect to the Well. There's some classes that are audio only, some have got video, some have slides and handouts. By the way, some of you are watching online. You're from all over the country. You are welcome to engage in this too. If you have friends across the country who might want to engage our content, please invite them to do that. So Phil, in the extra time you have, you can engage some of these pieces of content.
Well, the main thing that I like to do with my content is just listen to my own sermons.
Right.
So is there a way to do that?
Yeah, Phil, there is a way if you enjoy listening to yourself more than others. I'm really grateful to our communications team, too. We've launched our sermon podcast again. We've had that at different ways over the years. So, Phil, your sermon podcast is up. And so, again, we hope that you will subscribe to that, share it with friends who might enjoy listening to these sermons. You can search for that wherever you like to listen to your podcast. We've got that live. So, yes, you can listen to sermons on your own wherever you are as well.
And if I'm hearing you right, it's not just hey, we have all these things online, so just stay home.
Right. Yes. So the goal is not to say, hey, community doesn't matter, being here doesn't matter, just do this stuff on your own. So maybe what I want to leave you with is I want to show you some friends of mine who are good examples of great candidates for listening to podcasts, listening to our midweek classes on their own time.
I work on Wednesdays, and that means midweek in-person classes just are not an option for me. So I am so glad that Memorial Road is offering more options online so that we can go on there and just learn at our own pace.
Hello, my name is Ryan Russell. I am the minister at the Noda Church of Christ here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Over the last year, many of our members have enjoyed using the online classes that Memorial Road has offered. Thank you for making these available all across the kingdom.
Jessica and I have been involved with the youth group for going on 8 years.
So the concept of the content being accessible for us online sounds exciting.
Because it will help us to still be a part of the youth group, but also help us be part of an adult Bible class.
I do a lot of running. Sometimes I listen to music when I run, but a lot of the times I really enjoy listening to podcasts. I'm excited about the project that Memorial Road is putting together that will give me the opportunity to listen to some quality content while I'm on my runs.
I have to listen to the same sermon twice every Sunday, so sometimes I like to put in a little something extra.
So now you know the real reason we're promoting all this stuff is so that Scott does not have to listen to me preach. Thank you for putting all that together, Josh. Scott, thank you for not listening to me. I don't listen to you either. So, wrapping this up. First of all, I just need you to know, I actually don't listen to myself preach. You probably knew that, but every once in a while, to critique myself, I will listen. But that's awful. I don't enjoy that. These resources are primarily for two ways you can use them. One is for your own spiritual formation. Kind of take ownership in devoting yourselves to the teaching of Scripture. Like, this is on you how much you engage this. That would be one. But then two, as you think about people you'd want to invite to church, or just people you'd want to start to engage in the life of this church family, these are really good resources to use and share with other people as well. I'll give you one final story, just another illustration of what the whole main idea is. So this is a subway terminal in Stockholm, and like most setups that look like this, people tend to take the escalator and not the stairs. And so this group of people got together and thought, well, what could we do to change people's habits? Like, we can post signs telling people, take the stairs, it's better for your health. There's lots of ways we could try to do this, but they're all failing. And so this group of people came up with this pretty creative idea to change people's habits. What they did is about a dozen people spent one night, about 12, 13 hours, doing a massive renovation to the stairway. So they got all lights and cameras, and they actually built a piano on the staircase so that every step was actually a key of a piano and actually made music. And so this next picture will show you the finished product of what they built. And so then I want you to watch what happens now as people come into the terminal. So when you change the structure, you actually change everything. So when it comes to you and your life with Christ, if you want to finish like Fink, if you want to be like Peter and have transformation not just be a moment, but if you want to make it a habit, then it does not have a lot to do with your effort. It has everything to do with your structure. You want to build a spiritual structure that puts you in a position to receive the Word of God on a consistent basis. So my encouragement to you as we wrap up is, I want you to think about this fall. How can you best steward this fall to take in the voice of God at the highest volume? What would that look like in your life this coming fall?